Thank you, everyone. This is my several times welcome to Porto. Thank you for having me. This gathering is the fruit of over a year's effort by an organizing committee comprised of Adrian Bridge, who you just met, Tanya Oliveira, Pancho Campo, Doctors Gregory Jones and Jose Voyamos, and myself, David Fuhrer. An outgrowth of 3 climate change and wine conferences in Spain, created and directed by Pancho Campo beginning in 2006, with participation by a few of today's speakers. And the most recent in Marbella, which I also hosted, this refashioned iteration is due to a meeting of the minds between Adrian and Pancho 2 years ago. Today's 8 sessions of the first Climate Change Leadership Wine Conference, winery responses to climate change, vineyard responses from around the world, consumer expectations and sensible marketing, wineries of the future, vineyard developments, a report from Life Advoclim, and water management will be attended by 600 participants, 50 speakers from 38 countries, resolved to sharing amongst themselves and the greater world how best to adapt and mitigate the impacts of climate change upon viniculture and its adjacent and supportive businesses. The ongoing extent being the Porto Protocol, an initiative allowing all organizations and businesses to join together as a means to collectively partake in information learned and applied in stemming this rising tide. Now, excuse me while I share with you a little bit more of a downer note than Adrian projected. There is no amount of rationalization that makes this conference's basis an easy lesson. It is astonishing to put in one's mind, in stark terms, the causes of global suffering and our culpability in it. Our approach in fending off the ongoing effects of climate change won't necessarily diminish our impact upon it solely based upon our work here this week. We must acknowledge the puzzle that this remains for us to unravel in the present and in the near future. What's possible is vast, despite that we may be underestimating how bad things are going to become with quantifiable points indicating how irreversible our carbon emissions impact may already be upon a planet that is inherently indiscriminate to human existence. Since the publication of our keynote speaker's first book on climate change 30 years ago, at which time the United Nations IPCC first addressed the issue of climate change, and we began to be conscious, in a collective sense, of what we've been doing for so long, it's estimated that fully half of carbon emissions humans have ever created have entered our atmosphere. Human interaction in every environment is no longer immune from the governance of environmental laws, from which alterations and their impacts have exponentially increased. The last time the aggregate band of Earth temperatures were 4 degrees Celsius higher than they are now, there were palm trees in the Arctic. Within the lifetimes of some of us here today, we're set to rise 2 degrees, and given how rapid changes have already multiplied, this is a generous estimate, yet still considered genocide by low-elevation island nations, river delta countries like Bangladesh, with parts of even New York City and Miami projected to be under severe threat from the effects of ice melt by the end of this century. All this is set to reshape the map of the world. Thank you for giving me your time. You'll be seeing me throughout the next 2 days. I'll be doing a bit of housekeeping here and there and directing you where to go and when to go there. But for now, I'd like you please to welcome to the stage Professor Alvaro Costa, who's the Vice President of Commercial Association of your host town of Porto.